Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida podcast. In this show, we talk to leaders in the community, leaders of clubs, and interesting folks who live here in the Villages to get perspectives of what is happening here in the Villages, Florida. There will be shout-outs for supporters in episodes. In Season 6, we will continue making substantial improvements to the podcast.
This is Mike Roth. And listeners, I'm thrilled to share with you this podcast, which is my passion project for you. This podcast brings me joy, brings you knowledge, inspiration, and a lot of things that people need to know about the Villages and the people living here. Be sure to hit the follow button to get the newest episode each week. Creating this podcast is a labor of love, even though it demands more time than I can easily spare. Now, here's where you come in. You can help us keep the podcast alive and thriving. How? By becoming a supporter. The easy way for you to support us is to visit our podcast webpage, openforuminthevillagesflorida.com, and click on the supporter button at the top of the page, or the purple supporter box on the right side of the page. Even a small donation of $3 to $10 a month makes a big difference. And guess what? You can cancel your subscription at any time. No strings attached. Your support means the world to us. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep those headphones on. I hope everyone enjoys today's show. This is Mike Roth and Peter Bernard on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. This is part 2 on the future of electric vehicles. Mercedes 2 years ago was saying that their corporate design philosophy was going to be EVs in marketplaces like America that has the infrastructure for EVs. And in the rest of the world where there wasn't infrastructure, they were going to continue to produce internal combustion engines, whether gas or diesel. Now they've changed their tune and they're redeveloping their internal combustion engines. And in fact, they released the S58 hybrid Mercedes
with a gas engine,
with a smaller gas engine, with a lot of batteries. And on one side of the car, you have your EV plugs. On the other side of the car, you have your place where you fill it with diesel or gasoline. That car's out of the price range for most people. I saw one last week. It was tagged at $212,000.
Wow. Houses cost less than that.
Yes, but it's an S-Class. It's the big car with a standard engine of 580, might run $150,000, $160,000. It's a different level of luxury. It's a car with computers, different design philosophy. In the future, hybrids seem to be in demand, the direction people should think of going.
Best of both worlds. There are folks out there that are anti-EV and they get worried about getting stuck on the highway and about cold weather and about hot weather. And if you have a gas engine on board, it's a fail-safe backup. It provides some comfort for some folks. I used to own a Toyota Prius. It was a gutless wonder, but I felt good about getting 52 miles a gallon, and I would hypermile it so that I'd get as much as possible. So at a stoplight, I would just creep up, hoping that little gas engine wouldn't kick on. Yeah, but that was fun. But again, I'm more into speed now that I'm retired. I think hybrids are something that if someone is
Plug-in hybrid.
if you're not 100% sold on an EV, I think a hybrid would be a good alternative.
I've thought about it and think that when you go backwards to a hybrid, you're adding much more complexity and things to go wrong.
You're back to oil changes, camshafts, exhaust manifolds,
Belts.
spark plugs. I saw all the lines after this last storm of people all worried about gas and filling up. I turned to my wife, put my nose in the air and said, I'm filling up in my garage. I leave every day with a full charge. I feel for those people standing in line, and I'm hoping maybe we can convert some of them into EVs.
Operationally, I don't leave every day with a full charge. I leave whatever's in there. When it gets down to 30% or below, I'll charge it overnight once every 2 weeks.
I think there's a battery health reason for doing it too. Tesla asks that you always be charging.
Yep.
There's some people that don't have access to charging in their garage. Maybe they live in an apartment and supercharge all the time. The old school of thought was that damaged the battery. And I'm reading lately, that's not a problem.
Yeah, there hasn't been adequate research, in my opinion.
Tesla has been making cars for the masses since 2012. So we have a lot of data, and they collect telematics that you don't even know about. They're collecting data all the time. They have some of the research. Mm-hmm. Something you were going to mention, I thought you were going to mention, was there's a way for some cars, I think Hyundai does this, where they go vehicle to load. If you were to lose power in your house during a storm, you can put a special device on your car and it will power at least a portion of your house for a great amount of time.
There are two EVs now have reverse power, where power is two-way out of that outlet. One way to charge the car up, and the other way to run appliances in your home.
In the Cybertruck, you can just plug in the back. They have a plug back there, an AC plug, and there's an inverter on board.
Oh, that's so you can power stuff.
Yeah, like tools or a laptop.
No, but I'm talking about bringing 30 or 60 amps of power out of your electric vehicle. And this is in California, you can use to run the appliances in your home, whether it's your air conditioning
for a while
or your TV or lights for a couple of days.
Wow.
Okay.
That's impressive because
the batteries in the EVs are very large. Now, to make that safe, you need to have an outlet which will accept that power.
And a lockout.
A lockout switch in your breaker box.
That's code.
To cut off your home from the grid.
I used to have a generator back in Pinellas County, and I had installed a lockout device on my breaker box. Simple procedure, flick it. Now I'm the guy responsible for my power, and it would not send current down the line, potentially electrocuting some lineman 4 miles away.
I put that in when I bought my first generator. I don't work inside the circuit breaker box. I had Pike Electric. They charged me a lot of money to put a metal plate and move breakers.
But the cool thing is, so now EVs are a backup if you lose power.
Could be.
Right.
Very few EVs today have the high power two-way receptacle on the car.
I think Hyundai does, because I remember being offered a device that I could put on there and then I could plug in and run that into my house.
Yeah. Mercedes doesn't offer that yet. I'm not sure the Tesla does either.
I don't think so either.
Most EVs will have that capability by 2026.
Cool.
Because for Mercedes, it's a whole redesign of the charging circuit to put the Tesla plug at car.
And Mike, I know you're familiar with this, but I'll explain it to your audience. The Teslas, it's interesting. The motors are AC, the battery is DC. So when you plug in at your house, it's taking AC and it has to invert it down to DC to go into the battery. And then when you want to drive, it has to change that from DC to AC. When you go to a supercharger, it bypasses that inverter and goes right into the battery because it's going DC to DC. Very interesting. I love it all.
Yeah. I think Mercedes must have the same thing.
I think so.
Because they do have a standard AC plug-in, which you buy, slow charger.
Yeah.
And then they have the 240 charger, which is relatively speaking fast.
Yeah. 30 miles per hour charge, 38 maybe.
But the same socket, when you open up an extra plastic cover, you have the direct DC, high speed, 300 or 350 amp.
250 kilowatts.
Some of the new electric cars are being built with 800 volts.
Yeah, I think the Cybertruck has that, and that's going to allow for even quicker charging. On a Tesla, it takes 35 to 40 minutes to get 80% of my charge. Now, when I pull in, like you, when I go to a supercharger, not down to my last 15%, usually 30, 32, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get back on the road. That's another thing people harp on with EVs. They say, I'm not going to sit around. It's going to take me so much longer. I get a sandwich, maybe use the restroom, get a Slurpee, and watch the crowds for a couple of minutes. Most of these Wawas, we have an interesting mix of people, so it's fun to people watch. Or I'll go in my car and watch Netflix or YouTube on the screen.
As long as the car is parked, you can do that. Yeah. But the Wawa has electric chargers, some of them.
There's one in Lady Lake.
There's one, the Leesburg Wawa that's next to the Mr. Clean car. They have superchargers.
Cool. I don't use them because I just charge at my house, but they are all over the place. As I stated earlier, there's more than 50,000 superchargers, and there's more in the pipeline.
So what's going to happen when 40% or 30% of the new car production is pure electric? Will the grid be able to handle that?
I'm no expert on electric grids, but I've had some people who are anti-EV hit me with that. And from what I know, yes, the grid can handle it. They are taking steps to shed load during peak times. Duke Energy has peak time and off-peak time. I try to charge during the off-peak, and they give me a $10 credit per car. I have two of them, so $20 a month to charge off-peak. I get 2 opt-outs a month. On the third, I lose my credit.
At Seco in Sumter County, up to $7, you have to promise that you're going to charge during off-peak hours.
Do they install a separate meter for that?
No, they changed out the meter.
It's one that can communicate with the home base.
A very sophisticated meter that they put on. And I asked them after 6 months on the new meter, would it make sense for me to forget about the $7 credit and go to pure time of day billing. They looked at my account and said, no, Mr. Roth, it's going to cost you more money if you go to pure time of day because you're not using enough electricity in off-peak hours. So, but what we did do is we switched our dishwasher operation to off-peak, and that was very easy in the car.
At my house, the only thing that counts is the car. And believe it or not, off-peak starts at 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., which doesn't make any sense.
Wait.
Yeah, 10 a.m.
That's peak.
It's off-peak for me. I'll show you. I've got a screenshot. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. is off-peak. I cannot charge between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So that's off. That's peak time because everyone's coming home and turning on their ACs. It's straight. And Saturday and Sunday and most holidays are off-peak. So today we happen to be recording this on a Saturday. I know that I can carte blanche, plug my car in and not worry about it. The cool thing with Tesla is they have a system on board where I can tell it to not charge even though I plug in. It'll say waiting to charge, and it knows when the peak and off peak is because I've programmed it.
Yeah, for the Mercedes, what I've done, and in my electric golf cart, I use home assistant automation that provide electricity between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., the maximum off peak overnight. And of course, the electricity, if on time of day billing, is 1/4 of the cost of electricity during peak period.
But you're not doing time of use, so why do you fool with it? Just to be a nice guy?
You had a promise
to get the $7 credit.
Yes, I am taking the $7.
That's just for your car. So all that other stuff is just, you're not saving anything. Or does your rate go down during the off-peak? No, just a $7 credit.
That's why I asked them to do an analysis of my bill.
All this about the golf car and the dishwasher, you're not benefiting from that.
I'm proving I'm using off-peak power to maintain the $7 credit.
Okay.
I don't think Seco is pinging my car and running down my 12-volt battery.
Yeah, my cars inquire. I had to give them my sign-on credentials, and then they can get in and see when and if I'm charging.
Yeah, I never gave that information to Seco.
Okay.
They can't get into the car.
Little big brother-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, but they send you a semi-itemized bill, which tells you what appliances you were running based on the electrical signature. They can tell when my wife is running the dishwasher or dryer.
You can tell them to go below. No benefit to you to run it during off time.
Yeah, as long as they're identifying it. Or they're identifying my TV as costing me about $15 a month
That's
for electricity.
People ask me all the time, how much does your electric bill go up? When I was working 5 days a week and driving to and from work every day and plus errands and things, $15 to $20. And it's far less than if I had to sit in the line at Wawa and get gas, even at the lower price we're seeing right now for gas.
Yeah, I remember going to the gas station and spent about $40 for a 18-gallon gas.
Those days are gone. Seriously, and I know some people look at me and they'll go, oh, he's just a snob. I drive by gas stations now and I don't even pay attention to the price because it's not a factor. Don't care. Not even for the golf car.
Do you know if they're putting in electric charging stations at the new Buc-ee's on 75?
I do not. I think in the past, Buc-ee's has been very pro-EV, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'd love to see it.
That seems like a great idea.
I've never been to a Buc-ee's, by the way.
Neither have I. I've never stopped.
I don't understand the charm, but I'm not going to say I don't like it when I haven't experienced it.
People have told me that at most Buc-ee's, there's no interior place where you can sit down and eat. They want you to leave.
McDonald's in the past used to have really uncomfortable seats, no payphones and no clocks. They wanted you out of there. And when payphones were around, McDonald's didn't have them. And if you ever sat in a McDonald's bench, you don't want to be there for more than the 5 minutes it takes to consume a Big Mac.
There were studies that said in New York City, they had a place called Chock full of nuts, Korean sandwich place for lunch. And they set their stools and benches up so you were uncomfortable after 15 minutes.
Yep.
You notice that turnover.
Yeah. You notice also that the color schemes inside McDonald's are usually yellows and reds, and that is psychologically means hurry up and get out of here.
I never noticed that. Peter, on the Teslas, is there a service interval? They don't want to see you at the end of a year. How often do they want to see you?
Never. If you can fill up your windshield washer fluid and change your wiper blades yourself, those are simple procedures. There's a J-hook on the wiper blade, just like any other car. No reason to visit a Tesla shop. To rotate your tires, you can go to Wildwood Tire or Lakes or Sumter Tire. Doesn't matter.
Alignment.
You can take it anywhere.
Does it have rear wheel alignment?
I've never done mine, but I go by wear. And if I notice they're wearing uneven, I would take them in, and I've never seen them wearing uneven. If it's grabbing to the left or the right, that might indicate an alignment problem. If you feel a thumping that could be out of balance, you can go to any tire shop for that. People ask me all the time on my Tesla Software and Updates Facebook page, where can I go for tires? Anywhere. Go to your Shell station and have them do it.
Not so with the Mercedes. They have a special Hunter
computerized alignment machine because they do four-wheel alignment. How much does that cost? $250. Ouch. Hey, I went over a curb and it didn't respect the warning signal. Kept going. Went over, damaged the wheel. Ouch. And it had the wheel fixed cosmetically, but the steering wheel was no longer centered. So I go in, they had to do a four-wheel alignment on it to straighten the thing out. But the service cycle in the Mercedes is every 2 years. And I think they're bringing it in to change out that coolant antifreeze primarily. And cabin filter. They do the cabin filter and check the brakes. If you're using regenerative braking, the brakes don't get used much. And now for some information from Dr. Craig Curtis about his Alzheimer's disease seminar. So if one of our listeners want to go to one of your seminars that you put on regularly, how do they make a reservation to do that?
The easiest way is to go to our website, which is www.craigcurtismd.com, or call our office at 352-500-5252.
Thanks, Dr. Curtis.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the Villages community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
I used to sell Teslas, and people would ask about brakes. They'd say, you'll never need a brake. During the life of the car, I had a 2019 Model 3, and I had people look at it, and they said, they look brand new. What did you do with your old Tesla when you bought this new one? I traded it in at the Tesla-owned store. There are no Tesla dealerships. Dealership would imply there's a third party that's licensing, blah, 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 the story. Like Chevrolet sells through dealerships. As a matter of fact, there are still states in the union that don't allow direct sales of cars. New Mexico is one of them. Texas, I believe, is another one. So in New Mexico, they've set up their showrooms on Indian reservations because it is sovereign territory and they can sell their cars there. Isn't that something? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think New Hampshire, there's a couple. It all goes back to when cars were first produced, and they didn't want the car makers to have a monopoly on every stage of the sale. So they made the rule that they had to have a third party. They had to sell to a third party like the booze business is now. Mm-hmm. If you are a maker of craft beer, you cannot sell it directly other than at your store. You have to go through a distributor. Same with the car business. But Tesla has been fighting this tooth and nail. And in some cases, they've been successful where they've said, look, this is anti-competitive. Why are you telling me that I have to hire someone else to sell our cars? But in some cases, they just didn't open showrooms at all. And people who wanted a Tesla had to drive out of state to get their cars. You had to pick it up. Yeah. Silliness. And they're getting those people are getting a cut. So everyone's in on the action. The car maker's getting it. The franchisee, as you call it, or the dealership is getting a cut, and they're marking it up. Why not save money and cut out the middleman? I guess you could say you're providing employment, but I don't want to pay for that. The dealership experience, in my opinion, in the United States, some places have decided that they're going to do away with the whole haggling back and forth. When you go into a Tesla showroom, the price is the price you pay. There is no, I'll make you an offer on that. They don't do it. Same goes for when you do a turn-in. When you trade in your car, they tell you how much they're going to give to you, and there's no haggling. That's it. And I got raped on mine. Well, that's standard for auto dealerships. So it's standard also for manufacturers. Right. So you can take their deal and save sales tax because you don't pay the money on the sales tax, or have people come to your house that you don't know and are driving around with your car, or we can call We Buy Any Car. Oh, you can do that. Yeah. Or CarMax. Yeah, CarMax. Yeah, you can do that. Again, they're going to try and get the lowest price because they're going to turn it around and sell it, or they're going to send it to auction. That's what Tesla does, by the way. They don't have an inventory of cars that people have turned in. They go to auction. Mm-hmm. So they don't sell certified pre-owned cars. They might sell pre-owned Teslas, but if you came in there with a BMW, they don't want a BMW on their lot. No, I can understand that. Yeah. If I came in with a Tesla and I wanted a new one, they'll give you a price, take it or leave it. And what they do with that car, most likely it'll go to auction. So they don't keep an inventory of certified pre-owns. No. Nope. If you go down to Claremont right now, so that's an advantage of the dealership organization. For a few bucks more, you get a guarantee. In the Mercedes world, a certified pre-owned has a longer warranty than a new car. To inspire confidence in an older car. In the case of Tesla, if you go down to Claremont right now, you're going to see a bunch of inventory cars all new, which is unusual. When I sold Teslas, they had 0 inventory cars. When people would come in, I'd say, you'll have your car in 5 to 7 weeks, or 5 to 9 was the time. Mm-hmm. I got mine in about 4 weeks. When I put my order in, the system in Fremont, California said, build Peter this car with these specs, and they put it on a train. It gets off the train in Alabama, and then they use a truck, a carrier, to bring it down to the various locations.
And how many manufacturing locations does Tesla have in America?
I have to go through these with my head. There's Fremont, California, Austin, Texas. Those are the two in the United States. And then there's one in Shanghai and one in Berlin. They have a seat manufacturer south of Fremont and make most batteries in Sparks, Nevada. Some Shanghai cars are marketed in Australia and New Zealand because it's closer and they don't have that long shipping. Mm-hmm. Some of the Austin cars are now coming all over the United States. Model Ys, I believe, are starting to be produced there. The Tesla Semi is being produced there, and that's fascinating. I love that Semi. They're saying they can cut down the cost to people who need to ship things. I don't know what the figure is, but it's amazing. They do have special superchargers for those semis. Pepsi's been a big customer for Tesla, and now there's others that are getting on board.
Mm-hmm. How many of the semis has Tesla actually built?
I'm going to take a stab at a couple of hundred.
Mm-hmm.
They are not grinding them out as they do Model Ys and 3s, but I saw an overfly of the Austin plant recently, and they had dozens of them sitting there, all white and ready to get logos on them.
Let's change the subject now and talk about the Tesla auto-driving taxi cab recently.
Robo-taxi or cyber-taxi.
With no steering wheel,
right.
No gas pedal, no brake pedal.
We never have a gas pedal, but yes, they had a special event out at California. I believe it was on the Warner Brothers lot. Elon Musk and his assistants demonstrated the idea of just summoning a cab and having it appear and then take you where you want. The good news, it was exciting. The cars looked nice, and he thinks that's the future. The bad news is that as soon as that announcement came out, yesterday the stock plummeted 8.76%, so I lost thousands.
Why would it have fallen with a great announcement like that?
Elon has a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. FSD, full self-driving, was supposed to be autonomous by now. It is not. There are other things that he has promised in the past, and he says we're going to have
bulletproof windows on the side of the truck.
Yeah, I think they've solved that. There have been other things that he's promised, and it just doesn't come to fruition. I think the investment world is very skeptical of this robo-taxi deal. He also introduced a small bus that looks like a toaster with wheels. If that's the future, more power to him. His mantra is accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, sustainable transportation. So I think by having robo-taxis, we maybe could leave our gas-burning cars at home, and you could take that to work. You could take it to Publix. There's only 2 seats with a trunk in the back, I believe. So maybe they're going to have larger ones in the future that can take a family. That bus.
But here in the villages, if I got into one of those and said, take me to my doctor or take me to Publix, that would be great.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Think about it if you didn't have the expense of buying a car and insuring it and the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. Maybe just rely on that to get around.
That would solve a big problem here in the villages.
Well, especially for the elderly population that maybe their reaction time is not as quick. I'm not saying anything bad. We're all getting there. Wouldn't it be nice to just be able on an app on your phone just to say, pick me up and take me to Publix, and then it would show up later on when you're ready to come home?
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
With my car now, I can say, take me to whatever, and it'll drive me there. Minimal interventions usually.
Yeah.
Minimal.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention. It's not level 4.
You got to pay attention. People on the road here don't know how to run in a roundabout, make a left turn and then to the flow of traffic are dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of self-driving features, Tesla uses 8 cameras. Do they use any LiDAR or sonar?
Nope. Used to be. We used to have sonar on our car in the form of a radar in the front right bumper that was deleted. And we also used to have electrosonic sensors in the bumpers, those little round things. Those were deleted too. So now it's all Tesla Vision, which they use to guide the car around.
So how does that work in rain or snow?
If it does rain, I get a notation on my screen that says full self-driving may be degraded because we detect foul weather. It just means be on your toes a little more.
In those robo-taxis, they won't operate in rain?
We don't know yet.
Hasn't built enough to test.
They're not on the road. Another company, Waymo, is driverless cars for years. A friend that was out in San Francisco, and he summoned a cab, and that's what showed up. And it took him to his destination with no one in the front seat. He says it was freaky.
Yeah, but there's a steering wheel in a Waymo.
Yeah, but you can't grab it. You're in the back seat.
Yeah, but there's a steering wheel.
Yeah, but there's no one sitting there.
More equipment in some
standard car outfitted. On top, Waymo has this circulating thing that's constantly checking, and they're using LiDAR.
LiDAR is excellent.
Yeah. Elon Musk years ago poo-pooed LiDAR and said he'll never put it in his car. The company that makes LiDAR, you know who it is? I think they recently gave up on making them anymore. So I'll be curious to see what Waymo does. And Waymo has I think Google is a backer of them.
Yes, they are. Yeah. But LiDAR does a heck of a good job in limited vision through rain or snow.
Yeah. LiDAR, I think it stands for light radar. So it uses light beams and it's constantly inquiring. I've seen the screen that it's seeing and it's constantly inquiring what's that within. It knows what's going on. Same with Tesla Vision. It's constantly wanting to know what's that and trying to identify it. Is that a biker? Is that a motorcycle? Is that car going to cross in front of you?
So how come there have been so many accidents with self-driving?
Actually, there have not. There have been celebrated accidents where people do stupid things. In Texas, a couple of dudes claimed they were in the back seat using full self-driving, crashed into a tree and died. You have to have a butt in the seat to engage full self-driving. So that was lie number one. And back during the time when they were doing this, FSD required lines on the road to guide it. They've since solved that problem, so it doesn't need lines on the road. But back during this time, it needed lines. Line number two, you had to have a line on the road, and there weren't in the neighborhood. So that was a total fallacy that those guys crashed because of Tesla FSD. There have been crashes where it's plowed into a police vehicle.
There was the famous one where it didn't see a roadside truck. And
yeah, it is. They call it supervised. It used to be called beta. Now it's FSD, full self-driving supervised. And you sign off when you agree to use it that you're going to, I call it babysitting. I don't play cards with my wife and carry on a huge conversation looking to the right. And by the way, there's a camera inside that knows if you're not looking outside the road. And I get warnings. If I fool with my sunglasses or reach for my cell phone in the past, it tells me, pay attention. And if I get too many of those, I get a strike and it disengages my FSD.
Yeah.
If I go over 83 miles an hour, it'll disengage my FSD too.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
My electric actually, at higher speeds, will say that it's unhappy at reduced speed. They don't like the draw rate on the battery. It heats up the cables, heats up the batteries, and reduces your range.
I love my FSD. I just got it recently. They allowed everyone that has a Tesla to have a month's worth, and I tried it out, and then that went away. And long story short, I was able to transfer it from my older car to this one.
What is the price of the
$8,000?
$8,000 over the 55?
I didn't have to pay all that because I had to transfer it from my old car because Elon Musk had a special window of opportunity where you could do that. It's no longer there. $8,000 was $13,000 at one point.
Yeah. Mercedes doesn't, with minor exceptions, offer full self-driving. I think they offer it in California and Nevada on
mapped highways. I can take my FSD anywhere and it'll drive for me.
That's an interesting variation.
I love it. It used to not be able to handle the roundabouts here because it would sway in its lanes. It does now. It does not see the swing arms. When I get too close to a swing arm, I have to take over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You'll go right through them and take them down.
That's interesting. It doesn't see those.
When I disengage FSD, I can do, and then a thing comes up on my screen that says what happened, and I can record a short reason as to why I disengaged, and that gets sent to Tesla.
Yeah, because it seems like they don't move the locations of the gate arms, and
no, doesn't see them. I've tried. I've come out of them fast, thinking, okay, stop. Nope, not going to stop.
People with two eyes hit them 250 times a month.
And the cost is
bucks to replace.
They know if you do it because they've got a camera
on the front and back.
You're going to get caught. They send you the bill.
It's an interesting problem since we're not officially a gated community.
But we get a discount on our insurance for being gated, so I'll let them think that. When I was doing my homeowner's insurance, they said, oh, you live in a gated community, you get us $13 less. It's not a lot.
What company was that?
For my homeowners.
Peter, thanks for being on the show.
Always fun, Mike. I hope people found some of this interesting.
Great. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout-out for supporters: Tweet Coleman, Ed Williams, Duane Romick, Paul Sorgen, Kathy Loving, and Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. We thank everyone for listening to the show.
The way our show grows is with your help. Text your friends about this show if you enjoyed listening, or just tell your friends about the show.
The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2024. All rights reserved.